Welcome back to the table, everyone. It's been a while, and I thought, well, let's go ahead and show a new ship. Picked this up for Christmas. My wife got this for me, and I thought, well, let's go ahead and unbox it. I haven't opened it yet. I did rip the plastic, so the plastic is off, but we'll be able to take this out and take a look at it. This is the USS Constitution, so very excited. I see pictures of captains on here, so I'm pretty sure we're going to have some captain cards in there. But let's go ahead and find out. So the box itself is a pretty good size. I didn't, I just thought maybe I could pull down the other boxes. Size-wise, this is like one of the bigger ship boxes. A lot of them, they come about the size of just like the ship, and then they fit the cards and stuff. So that's why I'm thinking this probably has like some extra cards and things in here. So it says, sail and fight with the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides, the most famous of the 6 heavy frigates representing the birth of the U.S. Navy. Which is great, because this will be the first American ship that I have that I can use in Sails of Glory. And so just standard information here on the box. The Sails of Glory ship pack is ready to play model, painted and assembled, compatible with any other Sails of Glory Napoleonics Wars game product. In each pack you will find all you need to play with the ship, a special base with gaming stats, a ship card, a ship log, and a special deck of maneuver cards. Includes crew cards and captain cards for William Bainbridge and Charles Stewart. Great. So let's get it open here. Got these little tabs to pull out. And the way the box is, usually there's stuff on the bottom. Yep. So here's, looks like special rules. Everything else is on the top. Okay, so this stuff I didn't cut yet. But let's take a look at the ship itself first, because that's the exciting part, right? Love it. Okay, so let's zoom in here. Also, this fancy ship mat here. My wife also got that for me. It's a 6x4. I don't even know the name of the company. I got the, let's see. It's got the company name on here. Mats, in case anybody's interested in their own, FLG Ocean 1. And then it's all neoprene with a nice little print. And then the back has got the mouse pad grip, so it doesn't slip on the table. It grips to this table really good. So this is a great gaming mat, perfect for ships. Anyway, let's take a look here. So here's the top view. Let's pull the camera in. So at least from the top, this looks really, really nice here. And we'll grab a side view. Yeah, I'm going to weather this up a little bit. I'm going to put a little Argax Earth Shade. The last couple ships I did with the Argax, it was a little too dark. I'm going to see if maybe I can thin it out just a little bit. And I just want to put a little bit of weathering on here, mostly to help bring out some of these extra little items that are here on the sails. And then at some point we'll put a little bit of rigging. I don't put a lot of rigging. I have been learning how to add some more rigging to it. I found some little flags you can add. And here we go. Still not quite an expert with all of this here stuff, but trying to put little extra flag on there. But someone told me this is even rigged wrong. Oh, I had a little smoke on there. Like the rigging is reversed, which could be, because I'm not an expert at rigging. Mostly what I did here is follow the pattern for Black Seas. Black Seas came with like 6 pages, and it showed how to rig up. They're doing like 1/600 scale ships, but the rigging I found works pretty good even for here. And then I found another website where they talked about taking your thread and then taking a bunch of white glue, like just soaking the thread in white glue, and then hanging it from something so it'll, dry into straight lines of thread. And then you can cut those threads into different lengths, so you can add, different rigging, like you can make rat lines or If you do like the tan thread, you can do thread between the, like there's additional things that you can stick onto the ship here. But this is what I was saying. I did this with Argax Earthshade, and so the sails are, at least on this one, they turned out just a little bit darker than what I wanted. I might go back, it's probably too late now, but I might dry brush a little bit of white onto some of the parts of the sail. But that's my hope, is to maybe thin it out just a little bit, just so I can bring out the detail on the sails, but not necessarily turn them completely tan. But from the side, yeah, it's a nice looking model. The paint job is really good. Now, the reason I like to get these pre-painted ones is I don't paint very well. And I know some people say, you know, that these are very basic paint jobs. And what you could do if you wanted is you could probably add a little more color to some of the bits and pieces. If you wanted to get in, maybe add a little color to some of the rowboats on there. I'm sure if you're a very good painter, you could probably add a few more details to this. Which is why I'm adding just a little bit of weathering to the sails, and then adding, if anything, just a little bit of rigging to it, just to give it a little bit more pop. But for the most part, these come ready to game. And the thing I like the best, because I've tried to paint some of the other ships, is where the cannon ports are. Those are really sharp looking squares. When I try to paint the cannons and all that stuff, it just kind of turns out kind of globby. So this is a good starting point if you're not very good at painting ships. You can eventually move on. These are 1/1000, but you know, as you get better and you want to play a different game or have different ships, you can get models in different sizes. But this just lets me hop right into gaming. So I love these, and so it's nice to have the Constitution now in my collection. So this is, I think, a really nice looking ship, and you can easily mod and add things to it. And then from the top down, there you go. In here you can pop the base, and this is where you can put in the ship stats. I mean, you know, if you had like a different rule set, you could clearly just leave this on the base as it is. I've also had some folks, they said they bought a lot of these ships, and then they actually clipped this peg on the bottom, and then you could probably set it right onto your gaming mat, you know, if you had a different game system that you played. But so far I found that these bases are good. Even if you play a different game, these ships I think work great on the base, gives you something to grab and measure from. So I still like putting them on the base. I actually have a sheet of paper here. What I do is I cut this pattern, or you could print out any kind of ocean pattern you want, and then just cut it to fit here. So you can change and have just a plain water looking base, or, you know, they're very versatile. You can set these up however you want. But I just keep them here, sometimes change out. But when I'm playing the Sails of Glory, first we have, we'll see what all's in here. I probably won't open the maneuver deck, because a maneuver deck is a maneuver deck. And if you've ever seen this, you kind of have an idea of what the maneuver deck. But if these are crew and captain cards, it'd be interesting to see what comes with your Constitution. So there's a good aim. When the ship fires a broadside against an enemy ship and the target ship draws one or more 0 damage counters, the player may use this ability to force the opponent to draw one additional damage counter of the appropriate type. May be used twice in a game in 2 different turns. That's really good, because there's a lot of 0 damage counters in the game, so this is great when you can force them to pull another one. Well-trained gunners. A single broadside of the ship can be reloaded the same turn in which it fired. Any ammunition can be loaded except double shot. Alternatively, the ability can be used to load double shot in 1 turn instead of 2. The ability cannot be used by a crew lacking training. Maybe used once in a game. Again, that's a very powerful thing. Normally it's about every other turn that you get to load and fire, so firing back to back would be a fantastic ability to have. So that's really good. Here you got some captains. William Bainbridge, Princeton, New Jersey, May 7th, 1774. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, July. I guess that's when he passed away. Born. So he's a lucky captain and an iron captain. And here we have his cards. So whenever a rule requires one E damage counter to be drawn to determine a random occurrence, for example, the lacking trading rule or the entanglement rule, the player can choose the result instead of drawing it. May be used once in a game. Again, that's good. A lot of what you do in the game is random based on chit pulls. So I would say that's very handy. Anything that you pull and can decide for yourself what you want is good. When the captain is wounded, the wound is ignored. May be used once in a game. Excellent. Then you have Charles Stewart. He was born Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, July 28th, 1778, and then passed away in Bordentown, New Jersey, November 6th, 1869. He's fast-thinking, an intuitive captain, and a skilled tactician. The player may use this ability to plan a blank counter as an action. After all the ships reveal their planned actions, the blank counter may be replaced by any available action of the player's choice. If this ability is used at the same time by more than one player, the new action is chosen secretly and revealed at the same time. The ability cannot be used by a ship with a crew lacking training. May be used twice in a game. Well, that's good. I would say only because sometimes, you base decisions on what you see other people do. So to have a card where you can see what they're playing and then you can decide what to do, I think that's pretty helpful. Intuitive captain. Before choosing the maneuver, the player may use his ability to look at the first planned maneuver, the one that will be executed in this turn, of an enemy ship within one ruler from the ship's base. The player must declare the use of the ability, then check the distance. If the distance is more than one ruler, the ability is used, but there is no effect. Otherwise, the player may look at the opponent's maneuver. This ability cannot be used against a ship who also has an intuitive captain. May be used twice in a game. Again, a lot of the game is pre-plotting, so anything that gives you that advantage where you can see what they're doing to help you plan. I think that's fantastic. So I love that ability. And then you have skilled tactician. During the planning phase, when the player chooses the maneuver card for the next turn, he can also replace the maneuver card planned for the current turn with any legal card of his choice. Oh wow, that's amazing. So once again, you can decide a little bit better what's happening. If you notice that your opponent played a certain card to do something, then it's saying you can change what's coming up or your current card, and that's what's amazing. This definitely will let you be a super maneuverable ship on the table, which makes sense. I hear these were pretty maneuverable. But use it twice. So those are pretty good skills. And then we have the ship board. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the game, then a lot of this probably won't make much sense, or you have no point of reference. But I'm going to show you what stats you have here for the Constitution. Now, the way the game works is you have basically kind of a shipboard that kind of holds where you put like your maneuver cards. These maneuver cards, I'll open the pack. We won't go through every single maneuver card, but just to kind of give you an idea of how this all works out. So on this, basically you're going to have a separate board that all these bits and pieces fit into. And you have here a track for the ship. It just kind of puzzlerly goes together, and then as the ship takes damage, you have damage counters and tokens that you will put on the track, and that eventually, based on the damage that your ship has taken, will affect the gunnery, and that's what these numbers are here. These are your gunnery numbers. These are how many crew actions you can take based on if your crew is alive or not, and then down here also affects the ability of your crew to do gunnery as ships get next to each other. So you'll put your physical damage for the ship up here and block off blocks, and then crew down here. So the more crew you lose, the fewer actions you can do, and the worse your gunnery is, because that's like, you know, your Marines are dying kind of a thing. It also tells you basically the strength of the ship, their maneuver deck, and a Veer. And this is, the maneuver deck has ratings on the cards that you can do. So a Veer of 5 means that from your current rating of card, you can go up or down 5. I think best I've seen is like 7. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, here's a little summary card for the Constitution. So on your playmat that you have a little spot where you can place the card. Again, it has a little extra information. So this was, it says 62 guns and 377 crew. And the game is fairly generic in the fact that it doesn't really differentiate like if these are, you know, 28-pounder guns or anything like that. Basically, this is just counting up the total guns on the side. So in reality, I don't remember off the top of my head what the cannon poundages were for the Constitution, but the heavier guns would be here on the bottom row, and then the not as heavy would be on the higher row, just to kind of help keep the ship balanced in the water, stable in the water. So you've got here, it says 62. So usually about half the guns on one side. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I see 23, so there must be a couple I'm missing. Now, again, because the game is not super simulation-y, there could be a couple of chasers not accounted for. There could also be some carronades that I'm not seeing or that are represented on the model. So the model might not be entirely 1000% accurate as to where all of the gun emplacements are. But it kind of gives you an idea, because sometimes people will judge ships comparatively by the number of guns that they have. But that just gives a little ship information there. And as far as your maneuver, up here is a Veer rating of the card. So this is like maybe not the difficulty, but what it does say is I can go within 5 of this. Like, let's say, for example, the highest rated Veer on here is an 8. So if I played a card that was a maneuver of 5, and I wanted to play another maneuver, 8 is within 5, so I could play this as my next maneuver if I wanted. But after I play this 5, or this 8, I could go down to a 3, because that's 5 away. Let's see. I'm seeing if there is on here like a 2 or a 1 Veer. There is, yeah, there is. Not too many of them. But so, for example, here's a 1. So if I had played this 8, because my Veer rating is a 5, I could then not follow it up with a 1. If you notice, the 1 is like going in this direction. So this kind of gives you an idea of how nimble the ship is. So again, some ships have smaller Veer ratings. This is a very middle of the road. So fairly nimble, but not as nimble as some ships I've seen. But definitely, you know, you're going to get some maneuvering out of the ship. So it's not too shabby. But like I could, for instance, go from that 8 and then whip around to a 3, which is turning the opposite direction, but not as sharp of a turn. So it has got some maneuverability in it. And then most of these also, when you buy one of the ship packs, comes with on the other side as well. And then it's, you know, by year. So depending on the scenario that you're playing, you can just look and see this is a 353. And then if you play the later version, say the War of 1812 one, they upgunned it. So it's possible they added some firepower on there or increased the gun size. But if you were a ship historian, you would know exactly maybe what the differences were. I am not quite a ship historian yet, but you know, one day. And then it also had this little pack that covered the special rules. Wounds to the captain. And then here is the ship base graphic. So when you get your ship, now this here only has one side because this represents one ship, and that fits in there great. Perfect. I had one that I purchased, I had to kind of trim it a little bit, but this fits in just fine. And then when you put it all together and get it onto your table, then that allows you to see the firing arcs. It gives you some reminder information about the Veer rating and whatnot, and then on the back then it shows the name of the ship. And then also the colors around here, the reds, oranges, green, that's just basically letting you know what color maneuver. So again, without going detailed into the rules, when you move the ship, basically depending on the amount of sail that you have, and if your wind is hitting into the orange or green, then that lets you know kind of how far you can move your ship on that particular maneuver. You know, so everything you need is pretty much right here for the ship. Put that all on camera for you, and that's what comes with it, plus your special rules and your captain and crew cards, which give you some really good abilities if you use them. And I would say, just to be fair, if your opponent doesn't have that, or you only have one ship with these cards, they're not a necessity to play using these captain and crew cards. What I have done is when I first bought a ship that had these, the other ships didn't. But since it comes with two captains, even though these you could say are for like American ships because they come with the Constitution, you could really play them on anybody. I haven't seen anything that says you could not play captains on other ships of other nations, unless there was maybe a rule that specifically said, but even then, you know, it's your game. But, you know, if you want your opponent to maybe have a chance at a crew card or something like that, looks like there's plenty in here that you and your opponent could have a shot at using some crew or captains. But that's what comes in your Constitution pack. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gives you an idea of what comes in a ship when you purchase one for the Sails of Glory. And the game itself is still a really good game. I'm only pointing that out because I have tried out a few other rule sets where I've used the ships for and they work great, but I still on occasion find myself coming back to playing Sails of Glory simply because I think it's a great kind of in the medium between a heavy simulation game and then something that's just, you know, maybe a fast play. I think this has a really good balance between those two things that allows for, you know, anybody to play without a whole lot of rules learning. And the fact that the ships come ready for you to play right out of the box means that you can get a fleet up and running. If you just get the base game that comes with 2 ships, like per player, it comes with 4 ships total, and if you did have a couple of friends, you know, each person could run a ship. I think that would be, you know, that'd be great. And then as you add to your fleet, I think it's just a really good game to get people into, you know, into the idea of Age of Sail before you jump on to maybe something more complicated. But I'll go ahead and leave the review at that. I guess this is more of an unboxing than a review, but it was good to get back and put a video together. So just to kind of a side note from this, yeah, it's been a while since I've had something posted. I do have some things recorded. I just have to edit them and post them. And I'm hoping that I can get back to just doing some more board game play and trying to decide what to get back into. I've had some requests for Band of Brothers, but I've got the Conflict of Heroes, Storms of Steel, 3rd edition looking down at me. So I'm thinking about I might pop back into that. But just good to be back. So I hope to see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.